Hey everyone, Coach Dave March here, and welcome to another episode of the Growth Mindset Podcast. As you know, we have leaders and people of all kinds here, and I'm your host, David March, author of Vision in Action, and today we have a special guest, Haven. Haven is the COO of the Efficient Aide, the company Efficient Aide, and really happy to speak with her today as she's been instrumental helping a lot of executives, visionary executives, and people of all kinds. Haven, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so nice to meet you guys. I'm glad to be on here. Thanks for having me, Dave. I'm from Los Angeles, and Efficient Aide is a virtual assistance company. So essentially, we support all different types of executives, entrepreneurs. Like, we are the assistant solution. Get out of your email, get out of your calendar. There's so many other things of your best and highest use, and so we want to take the administrative things off your plate.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I mean that's you know I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that there's as if you're a kind of entrepreneur, you're probably got 1,000 different ideas, and it's good to have someone help you with that. It's almost like your right brain and left brain. You can your assistants can support that kind of left brain kind of tasks. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely. Totally. We like to kind of see it of like sometimes visionaries are like kites up in the sky and they need a string just to kind of help ground a little bit, let them fly, but tether them a little bit so things don't get just flowing around in the wind.
Totally agree. So I'm curious, what are some of the like trends that you're seeing right now, either in the future or in the present, that are going on with assistants and your world?
I'm sure you're hearing this probably every episode you're hosting, but AI is just like
Yeah,
huge. I
it
mean,
is.
substantial, especially in the assistant spaces, because AI can take a project nearly like 60% there. It still at this stage needs the human touch to get it across the finish line, to not be robotic, to catch for misses and everything. But there's a lot of different ways that assistants and administrators can leverage AI. I'm sure it's even going to be even more in the next 6 months, but that's been the biggest trend is like, how can we use this on our like base services? Like, what are we doing this and the way we support every single client? And then how can we do it in more of like the niche scope of works as well?
Yeah, the I have to say the whole idea of AI, I would almost think that that would be contrary or like yeah, just contrary to assistants because AI is typically your assistant. So I'd like you to give your voice on that to tell your story on that piece.
I think it's supplemental at this stage. I mean, who knows where the future will go and whether that could be a possibility, but right now it's not quite there. I do think there is that human thought partner touch that's missed of like
Mm,
understanding someone, of knowing when to push back, seeing them holistically with, hey, I definitely can book that meeting for you, but also you told me that you haven't been making it home to dinner with your wife. Like, would you like me to reschedule that? Or I noticed that this one kept going long. Can I add some buffer time? Or, this invoice came in. I checked QuickBooks and we paid that on your Amex on the 10th. Is that what you want me to do again? Like, there's a lot of
mm,
ways that, yeah, maybe it can replace like a basic level admin, but it can't replace an executive assistant or a chief of staff type of role yet, because
mm.
there is that human component. And it may come across as cheesy, but AI, the difference between that and a human is it can't care about you. And I think that part does matter when you have someone who's an extension of you. Is you need someone to care about you, and you do feel it in the support. Now, an assistant can absolutely have travel booked and have assistance with AI and then throw it in chat GPT and say, give me a travel itinerary and the best restaurants in Charleston. That part, absolutely use AI, save your time. The other pieces where it's more accountability partner, it's more thought partner, it's more proactivity, that part's not quite there yet.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Yeah, and we talk about a lot about leadership on this podcast, and AI is not going to replace the leadership of
Mhm.
of that particular individual. I mean, and everyone can play a part in leadership. It's not just your executive leadership. Your EA could play a part in how he or she is leading. Your whatever the person he's supporting.
Yeah. And we even have some we call pod leaders. So with our assistants, they're all part of a pod group where they have one pod leader who's overseeing them. It's about 10 assistants in each pod. And that pod leader is the one who's responsible for the client success of their portfolio. So they're on the calls for the first 45 days. They do the onboarding with the assistant. They do the kickoff. They do a 15-day check-in. Like they're the ones who are also like, hey, did we get this right with this assistant? Are you happy? What are your pain points we can focus on? And they're also the ones who it's an added touch point. So it's not even just one-to-one. It's specifically like there is a human touch that's really necessary as far as reading someone and identifying what are the most important things. We have a scope of work list we're absolutely going to tackle, but which one is giving you the most pain that we want to focus on right away?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something that's more unique, I think, right? Because now we're talking about getting into more the personal touch, right, and getting into understanding people in that sense. I think that's so important. Um, with regards to how things are going on right now, I think the executive assistants, I mean, there's some people that I work with that are high level, executive assistants in the coaching world. When I'm doing the career transition coaching, and some of them are scared because they think that their job is going to be taken over.
Mm.
Um, you know, what would you say to the people that are scared, that are feeling like that job might be taking over? Well, how would you respond to that?
I can empathize with it and I can understand just like the uncertainty of the future. But also, I would just challenge and say, make yourself invaluable. Like when things get thrown around, like if you have an amazing assistant, they're the last one you want to cut because they free you up. Like they free a leader up to go and have the big ideas that are going to get the company out of the mess. They're going to have the clarity break time to see the direction of where they need to go into the weeds. And so, an amazing executive assistant actually has some of the most job security because the executive who is the one who's determining the cuts isn't going to want to cut them. So if you
Yeah.
prove yourself invaluable, if you go above and beyond, if you make yourself such an extension of them, then I would say it's actually the utmost job security if you're really good at what you do. Now if you're not, if you're phoning it in, if you're not, if you're just doing bare minimums, I can't help you there. But I would say it's almost kind of akin to like if sales are down, you don't cut your sales department and say, okay, it's not working, we don't need them. Like if things are going on, you're not going to cut an essential role of an assistant of they're the ones who are going to help get you out of the mess.
Totally. I agree. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, that I think that's definitely going to provide some good encouragement to them, and appreciate that. Um, as we kind of look at just the aspect of, um, you know, being an entrepreneur and being both being business owners here. Um, what would you say would be one of the challenges you find in business, and kind of how you got through that, either if it was a failure or it's a challenge, whatever it was? And what are some of the lessons that you can impart on us from those challenges?
I find scaling to be challenging because it's different at every stage. Like where you started, and then if you evolve, the people that came in from that aren't going to fit anymore, and that's totally fine and it makes sense. But if you're leveling up, it's going to change, and you might be not at the place that would attract the people you want to be at yet. So I feel like each iteration, it's just you really have to adjust and move and be flexible. And so I think it really does come to down to the right people kind of all the time. There's that book, Who Not How,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's determining, yeah, the right who's that really make all the difference. So I find the most challenging is like if you're really evolving and growing, if you scale so fast, then oh my gosh, you're pretty ballooned. Like there's just a lot, like there's a lot of ways that maybe you can't check and make sure the culture is the way you want it to be, and that things are being delivered how it should between each of the departments. But if you go too slow, you're not going anywhere. So it's such a
Mhm.
balance of like we need to make sure we have implementing the right structures, but we can't over tweak, over development that we don't ever move forward. But we can't move forward so fast that then the ship falls apart as we're sailing it. So I just
Yeah,
find that it's such a balance between how fast do we want to go in a way that's sustainable and cutting edge, but also doesn't cost us our culture and cost us the right people in the meantime.
totally. Yeah, I love that you brought up Who Not How. That's actually a book I was reading like what was it like about that's 6 months ago, I believe. And I had to like listen to it like a couple times because there's just so much stuff, so much good stuff in there.
I even
Um,
had our staff read it, and they said that if you do the audiobook, there's like a little like discussion between after them, or there's like a podcast
yeah,
supplementing. So I read the book, but now it makes me want to go back and listen to it.
yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think it's like Benjamin Hardy
Yep.
and somebody else,
I think Dan Sullivan, he's
Dan
the founder
Sullivan,
of Strategic Coach.
strategic coach. Yeah, that is,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really good. But yeah, I mean, it is all about the who, and I think that, with, because AI does come in every conversation here. But with the whole idea of I think that the importance of soft skills and who you are as a person, your personality, is going to be more important. And especially when I'm doing, if I'm helping someone make a career transition, for example, the thing that separates them from others is always who they are.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so if you're, and I think that's the same thing with like, why someone would want a particular executive assistant versus another one is because who they are. There's a personality synergy with that person over another person that they would probably like. Do you find that at all, like in your business, in the sense of like matching up your particular clients with the right assistants?
We literally call it matchmaking. So we have our discovery process, and then once they want to move forward, it goes into matchmaking. We utilize Colby.
Oh, you
So,
do? Oh,
yeah,
okay, cool.
we have every person who's coming on take a Colby A. We want to know who you are. And then we want you to take a Colby C of what do you need in an assistant? Like, what are the skills that you need uniquely? And then we have all of our assistants having A profiles. So we match their A to the C. We do some reports of, hey, what's the A to A? Where are the potential areas that it could work? You actually do kind of want tension somewheres because you don't want someone to just be the exact representation of who they're supporting, but you also don't want so much tension that it's going to be frustrating for everyone. So we also take into account time zone. We don't want someone on the Pacific time supporting someone on Eastern time. There's a lot that goes into it, but also our unique, one of our three uniques is never lose coverage. So we assign two EAs to every single client. We call one the primary and one the secondary. They both support the scope of work. They both attend like the calls. They're up in the know because we have W-2 employees. When they take PTO, when they're sick, when something comes up, we don't want the client to be out an assistant. So we always have someone who's cross-trained, ready to step in at any time, given notice or not given notice. And so also that's something where we're not just matchmaking 1-to-1, we're trying to matchmake 2-to-1. We want to make sure the primary and secondary have great chemistry. We want to make sure that the secondary, when they step in, is going to be good for the client. And so we try and look at all of that holistically and do our best bet. We have a repairing guarantee if something doesn't work, but it actually doesn't often come up because we really take it into account. The pod leaders are the one who vouch for their team and who they think will be good based on Colby, personality, and time zone.
Well, now you're speaking my language. Now you're speaking my language.
What's your
I
Colby?
do. So I don't know the exact numbers. I know that I'm a quick start is my
I was
first.
going to guess that. Most entrepreneurs are high quick start.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely high quick start. Fact Finder is my second. Um, and then follow through is it's like I'm like more of a 2 or 3 on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then and that's like I thought that was really interesting from like a recruiting angle because I have a background in recruiting, and it's like if you're, especially like if you're in a recruiting kind of role, you want to be a little bit low, but want to have a number that is lower on the follow through because you're more adaptable. And like
Mm,
the typical like if you're doing temp staffing, the typical situation is like somebody calls out or they didn't show up to work and like, okay, how adaptable can you be to find some replacement for that person? Or
mm.
are you going to, freak out and just just go walk out yourself? Right?
Yeah, totally. That's interesting. I never knew that in the like industry of recruiting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean it's all based on the type of recruiting, of course. If you're doing temp recruiting, there's like four different types of recruiting. Um, but yeah, I mean, I do think that the personality piece is huge. I love Kathy Kobe's whole book, based on instincts. Um, Yeah, yeah, I mean, just on the idea of personalities, I use Colby, I use Myers Briggs as well.
Hmm.
Um, I do like the Myers Briggs. I think that the Myers Briggs theory and the dynamics of theory is sometimes more important, and people don't really get too far deep into the dynamics of the theory. Um, but like one of the things I always say to people, which I they always love, is talking about like on the Myers-Briggs, the introvert versus extrovert kind of piece. Um, Most people think of introvert and extrovert as like a adjective, but it's actually more of a verb. It's really more of something that you're doing. To introvert is to put your energy into your internal world, and the
Hmm.
extrovert is to put that energy into your external world. And it's more of an action than um, an adjective. What are your thoughts on the whole ideas of Myers-Briggs?
Well, I'm like a personality test nut. So like I've done them all. I love them all. I enjoy Myers-Briggs, but I'd never heard it interpreted that way. What I heard is it's how you recharge. Like, do you gain energy being around people? Or do you gain energy by being by yourself and that? So it's an interesting twist on it. Because I'm ESTJ. And my T and F, I've gotten different responses depending on when I take it. So I had an interpreter who's kind of certified in it. And they were like, they had looked at the actual numbers, and I'm like almost like 50-50 thinking, feeling. And
Mm,
they kind of knew me well, and they were like, I would assume that you're F when you're with friends and family, and you're
mm,
T in your business,
mm.
and it's kind of hard to toggle. They're like, because sometimes they're like, even my experience of you, sometimes you're so warm and so inviting, and sometimes you're very cold and very logical and pragmatic. They're like,
Yeah,
and so sometimes, like, they're like, I wonder if even sometimes you're confused between the two. And I was like, I am. I was like, it's an identity crisis. I feel both.
that's so funny. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, this is gonna turn out to our nerd session. We're both gonna nerd out on our personality interests. Um, so yeah, I would definitely be more like an ENTP, ENFP. Um,
Okay.
and I go between the T and the F, and similar to you.
Uh-huh.
And so, I always love David Kiersey's approach towards it, which he has a book called "Please Understand Me,"
Mhm.
and the way he calls it is that ENFP is champion, and then the ENTP is an inventor. Um, So yeah, ENFP is a champion of a cause because of the more feeling, and then ENTP is more the inventor of some kind of invention. Um, and so yeah, I really think that they're really interesting in taking the turn towards David Kiersey. He talks more about temperament studies.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with temperament studies at all?
I am. So my husband is an INFJ, and he
Hmm.
loves Kiersey. He prefers that
Yeah,
over, yeah, he sees it better, and he was telling me about the guardians and the all of
yeah,
those things. And so my husband's more familiar on that. And like the INFJ, those are the ones where it's like Buddha, like they think Jesus might be an INFJ. So my husband's very ethereal, never on the ground,
yes.
very romantic musician. And so he goes near
Yes.
that, and I'm more on the Myers-Briggs where I'm like, just tell me, like, what is it? Are they a champion or an inventor? Just give me the brass tacks.
Yeah, love it. That's so funny. Wow. So yeah, I'm interested in this conversation we're having about personalities. There's also one that I use for personal branding, which is really interesting too. Ever hear about how to fascinate?
Never heard of that one.
Really interesting. Talks about your brand archetype.
Your
Um,
brand, like your personal
yeah,
brand.
your personal brand's archetype.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and they have different
Well, I'm
archetypes.
fascinated, so it's working.
how to it's how to fascinate. And it's how to fascinate.com. But yeah, I mean it kind of goes along the lines of, Carl Jung's theories, and if you're interested in Myers-Briggs at all, Myers-Briggs is, comes from psychological types from Carl Jung. Um and yeah, so what the how to fascinate talks about is like more your archetypes. So there's like your different archetypes, your warrior, your magician, your different, wise owl, kind of different.
Oh, okay. Yes, I am familiar. I haven't heard it called that, but I am familiar with what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. There's different types of archetypes, and it pulls from, instead of psychological data, or like Carl Jung did, it pulls from more just like personal branding. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's really interesting. Um, Something you'll probably want to research now.
I
As
just
you
threw up in a like a Chrome thing. I was like, how to fascinate so I don't forget.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's super cool. Yeah,
You want
and
to hear my
so
favorite new one?
yeah, tell me. Yeah.
There's one, it's called the seven frequencies of communication, and it talks
Okay.
about what's your communication frequency. Like how are you, coming across and where are you landing? And so there's obviously seven. I'm a commander. So a commander, challenger, seer. So it's like commander is like definitive in the room, challenger is like it can always be better, and seer is like seeing in the future. And it's kind of you pull from like kind of your top three, and they're really, really fascinating. My husband's first one is Maven, which is very much like what is reality upside down. Maven's my last one. And so
Mm,
there's that book. It's a book by Erwin McManus, The Seven Frequencies of Communication. And
mm,
you can't unhear it now. Like it's whenever we like watch something, because also there's shadow sides of each one, which is like, what does that
mm.
look like in unhealth? So that's my new favorite personality thing that I'm on a kick on right now.
Wow. Wow. Well, yeah, that's I have to look at it now. I have to research it more.
Yeah, there's an online assessment for that one too. We gave it to our
Yeah.
clients this last year because we were like, how are we all communicating with each other, guys? Let's all learn what our frequency is.
Super cool. Super cool. Wow. So yeah, I mean, this has been a great episode. I think that we haven't gotten too far into personality, some of the past ones. So I'm glad we're able to this time. Um, we didn't go into, of course, astrology and horoscopes. That would be a
I'm a
whole.
Libra.
Yeah, Libra. Yeah, yeah. You know, my friend and I go through. Actually, my co-host on most of these podcasts, Patrick. We go through like there's like three of them. There's like your rising, your sun, your moon.
Oh yeah, my rising is wait, which one? Yeah, my sun is
Sun is your
Libra,
birthday. Yeah.
rising is Leo, moon is Taurus.
Ah, that's what I was getting at. Okay, cool. So yeah, my moon is Taurus, and my sun is Scorpio, and then my rising is Pisces.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool. There's so many different ways to look at personality, and yeah, and I don't think enough people really look into it. And I think this episode is definitely going to encourage people to look into all these
Yeah, so we
things.
talked about Colby, Kiersey, how to fascinate, seven frequencies, astrology. What did we miss? Do they have any other homework after this?
They're gonna be pretty stuffed with all that. There's just gonna be
Yeah,
they're just so much to do just in that alone. So they're if they go into each one of those, their calendars are just gonna be stuffed.
totally.
I don't know if they're gonna be able to get
Their
through all
LinkedIn
that.
bios will be way too long.
Yeah, way too long. Yeah. Wow. Well, Haven, this has been great. A great conversation. as we kind of end this episode, is there any final encouragement you want to give the people? And if there isn't, let us know how to find you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we took like two different directions here. So I'll go backwards and just be like, all of this stuff is interesting and fascinating, but really you also get to choose who you are. You're not just like locked into
Yeah.
whatever an assessment says or whatever you were born with in the month. Now it helps you understand yourself, but also we just have a lot of freedom of choice. So I want to geek out over it, but also be like, but also you get to choose every day who you are. And then
Yeah.
I'll go up to the front of assistance of, if you're listening and you still do your email and you still do your calendaring and your invoices, or if you're at the place where you don't need someone full time or you don't even know what to look for, we do fractional virtual assistants. Like we can do it for scope of work. We will take care of that for you because you really should be in areas of your best and highest use. There are things that are better for you to be working on that actually grow and develop your business. And sometimes people are reticent to delegate it because they're like, oh, I hate it. Everyone must hate it. You would be so wrong. Our assistants love it. Like they thrive on it. They enjoy the structure. They enjoy the accountability. They enjoy freeing you up to go do the things you were made to do. And so efficientaide.com, that's where you can find us. And then my name's Haven Weits, last name Weits. Add me on LinkedIn. I'd love to have a conversation because we really do want to free up entrepreneurs to go do the things they were made to do. And that is likely not administrative work.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Likely not. Uh, well, yeah, thank you so much again, Haven. This has been a great episode. And yeah, for all those listening to us here, check out the personality stuff we talked about, and we'll see you next time. See you later.